Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Measure for Measure. We only have 2 monologues left in Measure for Measure before the whole thing's done. So that means that things are wrapping up. And today we get to hear yet again from the Duke in Act 5, Scene 1, which is just pretty much the entirety of Act 5. So he has come back. He has been revealed as the friar. He asked Isabella for her forgiveness for not being able to save her brother because he's still towing the Claudio was beheaded thing, even though we, the audience, and the Duke and the Provost know that Claudio is still alive, that it was a different prisoner's head who died of natural causes that was taken to Angelo. The Duke told Angelo after the whole Mariana thing, after her big reveal, he was like, you have to go get married to her. So they go off stage, they get married, they come back. As soon as they come back, he's like, okay, now that you're married, you have to die because you did the same exact thing that Claudio did. And Claudio just died, so you have to die too. And Mariana begs for Angelo's life because she just got married. She doesn't want to be a widow already, even though she would get all of his stuff. She'd rather have him as a husband. And she even goes to Isabella and she's like, Isabella, you're a nun and you're pious, and if you can forgive Angelo for what he's done, then maybe the Duke can forgive him and he doesn't have to die. And Isabella's like, you know what, you're right, he doesn't have to die. And the Duke, instead of actually answering the question, is like, Isabella, don't even bother pleading for his life. Hey, wait a second, he did something else that was bad too. Why was it that Claudio was killed at such a strange hour? And the Provost is like, well, there was a special secret note sent saying that he was supposed to be killed. And the Duke is like, well, that was a bad thing that you did that, so you, Provost, are going to be punished too. And the Provost is like, but I saved this other guy's life who probably should have died. And he's like, who's that? And he's like, this guy Barnardine. And he's like, well, go get Barnardine. So the Provost leaves, and Aeschylus expresses some displeasure with all of this stuff that's going on, and then the Provost comes back with Barnardine and another prisoner who is, usually they stage this so that the other prisoner is either just hiding behind Barnardine or maybe wearing a hood or some such thing. So the Provost comes in with them. The Duke pardons Barnardine, says go live your life, be drunk somewhere other than the jail cells, sort of a thing. And then the other prisoner comes out, and the Duke sort of presents this other prisoner to Isabella and says, if he be like your brother, for his sake is he pardoned, and for your lovely sake, give me your hand and say you will be mine. He is my brother too. But fitter time for that. By this, Lord Angelo perceives he's safe. Methinks I see a quickening in his eye. Well, Angelo, your evil quits you well. Look that you love your wife, her worth yours. I find an apt remission in myself, and yet here's one in place I cannot pardon. You, sirrah, that knew me for a fool, a coward, one of all luxury, an ass, a madman, wherein have I so deserved of you that you extol me thus? So, in case you couldn't get it by the first couple of lines there, when he presents this other prisoner, it's Claudio that either steps out from behind Barnardine or the hood gets revealed or whatever, and that's his way of revealing to Isabella that Claudio is not actually dead. And everybody, including Angelo, kind of sighs this great big sigh of relief at this point. So Isabella and Claudio are reunited. Claudio gets pardoned. Angelo technically no longer needs to die, because if Claudio was supposed to die for this crime, so Angelo had to, but if Claudio was not actually killed for that crime, then Angelo doesn't have to be killed for that crime either. So things are wrapping up and look great. What's a little bit weird here is that the Duke, the third line, he turns to Isabella, well, he's already talking to Isabella, and he said, give me your hand and say you will be mine. So the Duke kind of proposes to Isabella, who wants to be a nun. After playing this whole psych-out game, where he keeps towing the line that her brother's dead, that her brother's dead, that her brother's dead, he's been lying to her. Not even just the bit where he was dressed as a friar and running around the town, but he has flat out lied to her about her brother's status of existence, and then just sort of nonchalantly says, hey, why don't you marry me? But she wants to be a nun. She wants to be a nun. So it's I don't know if that's the give me your hand and say you will be mine, it sounds to me like a marriage proposal, and it feels like a really weird one by today's standards, that the Duke would propose to a nun, and then we as the audience are all supposed to just be like, oh, hey, everybody's getting married, so everything's happy, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but at the end of this little speech, he does turn to Lucio, because there is still the fact that Lucio told the Duke when he was dressed as the friar that the Duke was a bad man, and told the Duke when he was dressed as the Duke that the friar, who was the Duke, was also a bad man. So he has to get that whole thing straightened out before the play can be done. So tomorrow we have the last monologue in the play. We can do a wrap-up, talk a little bit about some of the problems in this problem play. But yeah, things are coming up roses for everybody except for Lucio at the moment. I will see you tomorrow as we wrap it all up. Mwah.